Hey there, good morning. At least I think it's still morning. Pretty sure it's morning. I've been out here for the last half hour or so adding swivel pads to my new Vise grip clamps or clamp. And what that does is it makes it, I really should have done this before. I was running out of time though. I had to get that video done for this morning. That's weird because I'm used to releasing videos on my main channel on Sunday morning. So this being Friday, it feels like Sunday. Okay, but I had to get that because the Maker's Mob summer sale. In case you didn't know, you can get a full month free. No, well, that's not free. It's $1. That's all. So it's next to free. It's as good as free. So that video was mainly to promote that. And also I wanted to get this done to see, because I think it's cool. Anyway, so I added the jaw pads. Let's just finish talking about the Maker's Mob thing. There's a link in the description if you're interested in that. It's not just me. I've already got, I think, 4 projects on there so far, and 2 more good ones coming over the summer. Got a smaller one coming up very shortly, actually. So 3 more over the summer. But there's Jimmy DeResta, John Peters, Samurai Carpenter, Liam Hoffman is a blacksmith. There's all kinds of interesting blacksmithing videos. Who else is there? I'm forgetting again. My God, my memory is terrible. Anyway, there's a list in the thing. You can go and check it all out. There's a link in the description. You can go and check it all out and sign up for $1 and you get your full access, man. Full access to everything that's on there. So if you've got like a month to sit down and watch all of the projects, you can get it for $1. It'd be cool. But then I recommend staying on board because there's lots of cool stuff coming up. All right. And who knows what other makers might join. And you notice that I'm saying maker more. Okay. I was never a fan of that word, but I'm starting to loosen up stuff. So yeah, there's this. I want to talk about that. I made the pads. And there's not a whole lot to those. I cut a piece of, I made 1/2-inch plywood into 1/4-inch plywood. I cut the pads 1.5 inches round. And then I cut these ears. And I just use a washer to lay out the radius for those. And the pin, okay, when I got those glued together with epoxy, I had to use epoxy because that's the strongest without clamping, because it's almost impossible to clamp this. Actually, I'm going to put a couple of pictures in here that I was planning on posting to Instagram, and you can see exactly how I did it. The tape stops the glue from getting on the clamp itself, and then I drill the hole that the pin goes through in the jaw, oversized, so you got a little bit of play there, right? That's important. You got to have a little bit of wiggle room. And when these things go together, what should be pressing is the inside round part of the jaw pressing on the back of the pad. There shouldn't be any stress on the pins. The pins are just there to keep these things in place and allow them to swivel, right? And they should swivel fully onto the inside and a little bit to the outside as well. Right? More important that they go inside. Okay, so if you're making this clamp, you can go ahead and get this done. I published a template for the clamp, but that's it for the hand holding on this one. No official plans, just that gives you the important stuff. And the important stuff for this is the dimensions of all these pins, okay? And the size of the part, because a lot of time went into this. 2 mock-ups, several drawings. Anyway, so that's that. Last week it was the blinds for my living room that I made from solid ash. And I decided to make the mechanism exposed. So I had a few people commenting, well, there should be a valance covering up that bulky mechanism. But that was the idea with the mechanism, actually, to make it bulky, to be the feature that would draw your attention to it. You want something that's different. You don't want the same old, stuff you see in, your local Leon's. I don't know if Leon's is anywhere other than Canada, or the Brick. I'm sure that's only Canadian too. I can say Sears, but they're gone out of business here. Your local furniture store, something different from that. So that's what I was thinking there. A couple of people said the slats are too thick, and I was gonna go thinner with the slats. These are 3/8, but I left them thick for one reason, and that gives me the option of taking a thin kerf 7 1/4 inch blade and actually resawing these, or I could do it on the bandsaw, I think, but like the resaw on this table saw gives me a surface that's ready for glue, or as close to ready for glue as it needs to be for this. Okay, so that would be an option for the 34 slats that I have, to make them straighter if they got too bad. Because the way that works, I talked about laminated wood before. If you take two pieces of curved wood and glue them together, with them bolted down flat or clamped down flat, once you take it out of there, it'll stay pretty close to that flat. Like it may spring back slightly, but certainly not as much as it was. So that was an option. As it stands right now, they are, like, this is one of the worst bent ones. Right here, you can see that, can't you? Sure you can. So this is a reject because it was too bent. All right, this is even after I tried to unbend them out in the sun with water on the concave side. I wet the concave side, and I spring them back the other way, and I let them sit there for hours on end until out in the hot sun, until the water dried. And that worked for a lot of them, but there were still a couple that were irredeemable. So anyway, back to the thickness, that gave me the option to resaw them if I wanted to in the future. As it stands right now, I'm happy with them. They're not perfectly straight, but then I don't see that as being a big problem. Like when they're standing open, you can see there's a little bit of a curve, right, to them. But, who's looking at that? And then when they're closed, they're all flat against each other anyways. So that's not a big deal either. Other people commented about maybe a mechanism on the bottom to keep them all in line. I thought about doing that, actually. Something very simple. Just like one of those racks with holes with more of the 2-inch finish nails driven up, just to keep them in line. But those windows never get open anyway. And so they're not going to be blowing around, in other words. And also, these are pretty heavy. Okay, so it's going to take a pretty stiff breeze to blow these around. And even if it does, you get a little bit of tinkling sound, not entirely unpleasant. So there was that, and that video did well. I'm happy with that. And then the saw blade thing, which is supposed to be a novelty, rebound from my samurai sword flopping, did extremely well. Up 1.7 million views now, so that's the way it goes. You spend a huge amount of time on a project, and it does poorly. Now maybe some of that's the video, not the video. I don't know. Maybe the video. Maybe the subject. It's overdone. Who knows? Anyway, who remembers this? This is my pizza peel. This is one of the first projects I did on YouTube, actually, and I still have it. Okay, this is made from spruce construction lumber. Right, you see that? How flat that is? This is nice, clear, perfectly straight grain spruce. This is the kind of quality material you can get at your local lumber store if you pick through what's there. You'd have to know what to look for, though. It has to be nice, clear, straight grain stuff. And I got the entire pizza peel from that. And I've used this many times. Oh, but only over the last 3 years. It was only it was only 3 years ago that I got a pizza stone. Up until then, it just stood in one place. And I never used it until then. And now I construct the pizza on there. slide it in, and away you go. What I was bringing it out here for, though, was to refinish it. I was going to sand it down and refinish it with water-based polyurethane. I originally coated this with linseed oil, and it made it this not unattractive yellow color, but I was, wondering where I'm going to put this in my kitchen, because obviously it's pretty big. It doesn't fit in the cupboard, right? So I was thinking I could hang it on the wall, either vertically like that or horizontally like that in another area. So if I was going to do that, though, I want to look cleaner. And I think water-based polyurethane is a better surface for it anyway. It's more slippery, and it's also less susceptible to water because it's a single coat of linseed oil on here. That's all I gave it. Okay, so I was going to sand it and see how it looks. There's a chance that it might look like crap because, linseed oil might soak in different places more than in other areas, so who knows. Anyways, yeah, so that's what I was going to do today, and I'm going to be starting another project over the weekend, and that was the fairly short Maker's Mob build series, and that will be on making a tambour door for my kitchen appliance garage. I built the cabinet for the kitchen, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, maybe the same time as I got the pizza stone, actually. But I never did build the tambour door because I wanted to make that, plus some other things in the kitchen from the spalted maple that I cut around about the same time. And it's finally dried out. I actually have some pieces here in the shop, and I've been running the dehumidifier to bring the moisture down even further. So they're ready to go, and I'm going to be making it from that. I'm going to pick out some of the nicest spalted stuff because, okay, if you haven't seen my kitchen, it's all maple, all right? The cabinets are all maple, and the countertop is this black tile. And then I was going to do something interesting with the backsplash, too, that involves wood. But I'm not going to talk about that just yet.
Children, I'm glad you're here. I want you to check out my new confectionaries. I think they're going to sell right through the roof. I call them Chef's Salted Chocolate Balls.
Are they good?
Try them.
Hey, these are good.
Yeah, I love your salted chocolate balls, Chef.